am I doing today? It is time to start. What is today? It's a good time to start brassicas. So today I'm looking at cauliflower, broccoli, kale, cabbage. I'm mostly concerned with cabbages because I plant a lot of, not a lot, but I plant a variety called Little Tiara cabbage, and you can just tuck it in lots of places in your garden. You don't need a row of cabbage. It weighs, probably the heads I got last year were about 1.5 to 2 pounds. Perfect for like 2 people, a big bowl of coleslaw. It's perfect. And it also makes a great container plant. I have planted those in my containers on my patio. So when the slugs were going crazy with some of my other plants, I still managed to get a few cabbages out of containers. And they were surrounded with flowers. So it's like we have had snow and cold weather since November. My neighbor and I were trying to compare our notes, and it's just been wild. So we had our first snow right before Thanksgiving, and it just has never left. It has stayed and stayed. So in the continuing spiraling of our country, I can't watch anymore. It's just gotten to the point where I don't even know. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. It's like I sit and I try not to watch the news, but I do try to keep current. So what I've started doing is listening to the farmers, because there are a lot of good farmers on YouTube who are having good conversations about where the food supply is going, what they're dealing with, because I think a lot of us don't understand that. And the back 40 is one that I really appreciate. He's an older farmer. He's very plain speaking. He has come to the table with one kid who's voted for Trump 3 times, and he's having the conversation about the future of farming in the United States and where it's going and why we're in trouble. So I have to say, and he does it in a non-defensive way. It's an excellent way of how we can come together and speak to each other civilly again. I'm finding that's lacking a lot. So that's kind of been, I have my morning coffee with the back 40, and I really appreciate his civility, because I'm not getting that. I'm just not seeing it a lot. Oop, sticks. We don't want any sticks in our seeds. I'm mixing Pro Mix today. So if I move that bag of vermiculite, that might help. All right. I need to go mix up a little more. I thought I had enough to fill this, but I don't. So I soil blocked out all of my soil with a soil blocker. And because I'm doing cabbage, they don't need light. The seeds don't need light to generate. So I am just going to use a little bit of fine vermiculite. I get this at the feed store. I got 2 pounds for $3.95. It's cheap in the world of planting things. Yeah, so I have all my varieties are laid out here. So the thing you need to take into consideration, is it a short growing cabbage? Is it a long growing cabbage? How long is it going to take to reach maturity? It's all listed on your packages. This is Little Tiara. You see how small those heads are? And I know I'll probably eat one of these a week. So these are really great. 57 days to maturity. And I just think these are my go-to. And then I have an Amarant cabbage, but this is a storage cabbage. So this I will put in, it's 70 days to harvest. And honestly, but it will keep much better. So some of these I will hold some seed back and start a second crop for the fall. And then these will get stored in my basement, because we live in a 175-year-old house. Anyway, it's a fieldstone basement with dirt floors. When we moved in here, my husband was very upset that we had this basement. I love this basement. I have all my canned goods down there. Um, I keep it at in like right now. Today, well, I got up this morning. It was 0 degrees, and then today we hit 18, I think, for a high. It is so cold in Ohio right now. It is just insanely cold. And we're just get snowstorm after snowstorm. This is not the winters we've been accustomed to for the last 4 or 5 years. Valentine's Day last year, we were 57 degrees. This year, we were like -2 and a snowstorm. So, anyway, and that's part of climate change. There's no more normal. You really do. You do. It's like I do kind of follow the frost dates, but you still have to have common sense to say, maybe not. Maybe I should wait a week. Last year, I put my stuff out. We had in March, the first week of March, we had 60 and 70-degree weather. And I thought, oh man, we're going to have a hot summer. We did. But like the third week of March, we got hit with 15-degree weather and 45-mile-an-hour winds. And a lot of the stuff, no matter how much I covered it, I did lose a few things. Right now in the hoop house, it is 55 degrees, and my spinach has they're starting to get their 2 leaves on them. So I am so excited for that. Those are the things I really look forward to. So some other things I'm popping around the garden. Belstar broccoli is a great, just really good variety. It's one of those things you can count on. The other variety I planted last year that I blew my mind, it grew in the most intense heat of the summer, was purple sprouting broccoli. Wait, let me get these. I don't know if everybody keeps their seeds. I got these. They were on sale we have a place in town called Joann Fabrics, and I had a coupon. But they come, I mean, how great is that? I am a woman who loves her label makers. So when I have flowers in one, vegetables in the other one, and then when I want to plant cabbage or broccoli, these are all the seeds that I can put out. This year we're going to go for some Romanesco broccoli. Where is that from? Michigan. I do like Michigan Gardener. Green Magic is the one that I did really well with last year. It grew in the heat of the summer. Brussels sprouts. I don't know if I'm growing Brussels sprouts. I think I grew Jade Cross last year. And purple sprouting broccoli, I love. A lot of people, they have, now I bought these seeds. I learned this trick from my mom. She said, and this is, gosh, they had a huge garden when I was a kid, and I'm 70, so let's figure this out. How many years ago was that? The weather patterns weren't so crazy then. So she would buy her seeds from Maine or Wisconsin, knowing that they had really cold temperatures, and she thought the seed was more hardy. And there's probably a lot of merit to that. I'm not looking for that. I bought my purple magic broccoli from a seed company in Atlanta, Georgia. And because the seeds have to be, ready for heat. That's how we're living. So I do plant some for cold and some for heat because we don't know what we're going to get. It is that thing where it's coming at us from all sides. So as bad as we think the country is right now, I think that's how you have to think about seeds. I was laughing. I was out for a walk yesterday, and it kind of hit me. It's like, how do we shift? How do we change things over? I have hat hair. It is a season of hat hair. Sorry, folks. How do we change things over? And I'm thinking, well, I usually kind of watch nature a lot, and I'm thinking, herd mentality. If we go to that thing where muskox go in a circle and protect all the babies, and the wolves have very little success killing anything. I feel bad for the wolves, but I'm happy for the muskox. And I'm thinking maybe that's the mentality we should take, is that herd mentality. Those of us need to circle together, protect ourselves, and then we can deal with the rest of it. I don't know. I'm at a total loss. I don't understand what's going on anymore. I'm not trying to understand. So I'm going to put 2 seeds in each little divot in my soil blocker. And then I will thin them down to one, because you want one healthy plant. Now, how many broccoli plants do I personally need? I think I had 8 last year, and they all came at one time, which is fine, because then I put a whole bunch. We're still eating the broccoli I picked last year out of the freezer. And if you're going in succession planting, so you're going to get a crop in the fall and a crop in the spring, you will be fine. I am not soaking these seeds. I am just popping them in here. And I'm not even going to put them on a heating mat. This is going to be super easy. My mom used to be able to start stuff on a windowsill. I don't know if she lived on the western side of the city. We live pretty far east. So we have a lot of lake effect clouds that really do affect us. And we don't get the sun, I think, that the west side of the state gets. Okay, there's 8 plants, and I think that will be fine. I'm gonna put the extra back in the bag, and make sure you label so that you know what you're planting. So these, we had really like cheap Venetian blinds. They were sort of plastic. So I spent the winter cutting them up into plant tags. So these make really great plant tags. I'm using a Sharpie. I'm going to have to go down, and I go to Middlefield Seed in Middlefield, Ohio, and they have plant markers. And I always thought they were a little expensive, but they don't wear off. The Sharpies, by midsummer, I can't tell what plants I have put on there. So I'm going to put the tag on and the date that everything was started. Purple sprouting broccoli. And today's date. And pop that in here. So I will continue down, and honestly, cabbages, kale. I mean, how pretty is Romanesco broccoli? So that can get tucked in my flower beds, and what I'm finding out by doing this, when you tuck your vegetables in with your perennial beds or your annual flower beds, they get hidden. So that things that would tend to normally chomp through the garden, including groundhogs, I trapped 6 groundhogs out of my garden last year. They don't find them. They tend not to go. So sometimes I'll put lavender, especially lavender, because anything that's smelly, Agastaki, Blue Fortune, I love it. I planted Korean zest last year, which is a shorter variety, and then I had watermelon growing through it, and nothing bothered the watermelon, nothing. And so that's the way I'm planting this year. I used to plant very straight rows, very uniform. I don't do that anymore. It looks kind of a hodgepodge, but I get twice as much food out of my yard that I have done doing the straight rows. The only thing I put in straight rows are carrots, my root crops, carrots, beets, and I still do. I love lettuce borders. I love parsley borders. Now, the problem I got into with parsley borders last year, the deer went right down the row and ate every piece of parsley I had put out. So I got no fall parsley. And we had such a hot summer last year that when I got to the point where I threw my hands up and I just said, fine, eat the parsley. Pretty much, parsley is a cold weather crop. So in the spring, I have it in the hoop house right now, so I can harvest it all winter. And I like curly parsley because I grew up eating curly parsley. I grow 1 plant of Italian parsley because I just don't use it that much. But curly parsley gets chopped and put into salads, gets put into anything that has a chopped vegetable in it. I use it a lot in chicken soup. Chicken soup doesn't taste like chicken soup to me unless it's got a handful of curly parsley in it. It's the flavor. Parsley is really good for your kidneys too. So eat a lot of parsley, and it's a breath cleanser. So we used to consider a perfect food. The roots go down so deep, they bring a lot of the minerals up from the soil. So put it around your porch. When you have your dinner, walk out the back door and grab a piece of parsley and chew on it while you're walking to look at your garden. So those are the kind of things. I love borders, but honestly, what I learned last year is if you do a whole border and some animal likes it, they're going to wipe you out. So you're better off to kind of change it up a little bit. So they might get bored if you put germander in it, um, teucrium. If you put teucrium and then a parsley, teucrium's smelly and it's a perennial, which is really nice because then the next year you don't have to pull it out and plant it. It's a real pretty pink flower. Some people call it poor man's boxwood. I think it's a huge asset in the garden and nothing eats it. I haven't found anything that no deer leave it alone, groundhogs, raccoons. It's a good perimeter. It makes a lovely border. And then you can mix your herbs that, like cilantro goes to seed really fast. So mix it up, mix it up. And by the time the teucrium's getting big and bushy, the cilantro's done. So then you don't have that bare soil. And that's the key, is to not have bare soil. Because if you have a drought, or even if you have heavy rains, those plants will suck that water up. Those plants will protect your soil. So keep things covered. Why buy mulch? You know, I do buy compost because I can't make enough compost for everything I do here. Last year I switched up. I bought half as much compost as I usually do. And I had guys dropping off wood chips in my driveway. I moved 38 cubic yards. That is, do you know how many wheelbarrows that is of wood chips? And I have a big, one of my compost bins is filled with wood chips. So, and what that will do in the areas where I have perennials or fruit plants or fruit trees, raspberries, blackberries, and all of my fruit trees, those all get a heavy dose of wood chips. And what that does is it breaks down below. You cannot disturb the wood chips. You put them on and you walk away, leave them. I will be, now they've had a year to sit, so they're starting to decompose. And now what I will start to do is go in and plant strawberries under all those fruit trees. And then we'll put more wood chips around the strawberries. But once those strawberries are rooted, then I'll put wood chips. And strawberries travel, great ground cover. I would much rather have strawberries I can eat. Off of this little patch that I have outside my studio, we picked 30 pounds of strawberries last year. And I don't like the ever-bearing strawberries. I have never gotten as many. So I try to get a variety that's, you know, early, mid, or late season, and they come all at once. And then you're harvesting all at once. But strawberries store great in the freezer. You can make jams and jellies. We don't eat jams or jellies. So that's kind of what I'm working on today, is all my brassicas, and then I forgot my lupins, so I've got to get my lupins going. And you have to scarification. This is the only way they sprout. So I'm going to rub those between two pieces of sandpaper to really scar them up, and then I'll take a knife and nick them, and I'll put them between two paper towels and throw them in my refrigerator for probably 3 weeks. And at that point, I'll put them in soil and let them take up. Last year was the first year I was successful planting lupins. So it was a good year last year. We got delphiniums to come up. We got breadseed poppies to come up. Breadseed poppies, I got 3 different varieties this year, and I saved seed from last year. And you just go out and sprinkle them in the snow. They need that cold stratification. So you sprinkle them. You can put them in, the thing that worked for me last year, I put them in ice cube trays with water, and then I just pitched ice cubes out into the garden and tromped on them with my foot. It's so eloquent. There's no magic here. It is just, but I love breadseed poppies, and they're in early flowering. I think they started blooming in early June, mid-June. And you get the poppy seeds, and they replant themselves. So the good news is I have tulips coming up outside the studio, so that's telling me the end is near. As cold as it is and as snowy as it is, we got another 6 inches last night. My husband's getting so good at running the snow blower. I'm really happy he likes to do that. I don't have to shovel then. So I'm going to get back to planting, And I'll put a dome over these to keep the humidity in. We'll give them a little spritz. I got my spritzer here of water. And yeah, so, and then we'll go. I probably have 2 flats to plant today, and we'll get back to it. So onward and upward. The other thing I wanted to point out is I do like Michigan Gardener or any company that isn't sending you a bazillion seeds, because seed does go old and you get such a much better production with fresh seed. Some things do better. It doesn't matter. You can keep them for a long time. But honestly, some just don't. Like parsley needs to be fresh, onions need to be fresh. And that was a hard lesson for me to learn, because it was hard for me to understand, like, why is seed old? Up at, you know, in Siberia, they, or not Siberia, where is it? The seed bank. My gosh, the seeds are kept frozen. So I had been keeping them in the freezer and they still just didn't take it all. So that was a hard lesson for me to learn. But fresh seed is the way to go. And I used to save all my marigold seeds, and now I have a little Middlefield seed. If you're in Ohio, check them out. So you get 100 seeds for $2, and 100, and they have the germination. They tell you on the package what the germination rate is, but I think I don't think you can beat their prices. How many? You know how many? I got a pack of lupins for $3, and I've got so many varieties. And it's too early to plant marigolds. Don't start your marigolds till next month. Right now, let's just get the brassicas going, and I think we'll be good. But I have been using this seed packet for 3 years, and I planted 2 crops each year, and now I'm getting low again. But I could not find these. These were a fairly new variety, purple magic broccoli. So this was the only company that I could find that had them. Now everybody seems to be carrying it. So, but I highly recommend purple magic broccoli. We had 90-degree days and I was picking broccoli and it was still tender. It didn't get tough. We had a bad drought and it still came through for me. So yeah,